Now, in many ways, I believe the enemy of the aquarium industry is actually the aquarium industry. Now, so often I walk into people's shops and it really looks like an extension of their garage hobby. Many people get into the aquarium industry because they keep fish, and a lot of them are hobbyists, and you can really tell that with their shop, because their shop, it really isn't set out to appease, let's say, a female that doesn't keep fish. You really need to have everything set up so your mum feels comfortable walking around. It's got to be healthy, it's got to be clean, it's got to be well displayed. It's really important to have really good display tanks that people can imagine in their homes to allow people to make a decision. So having a good range of display tanks is a really important thing. Also having a good amount of stock, a good variety of stock, making sure that you have the right stock, because so often I'll go to aquarium shops and I'll see brown boxes on the shelf. Often things are not clearly displayed, they're often not clearly priced, and especially in a brown box that's unlabeled, it really isn't at all satisfactory. The other issue is a lot of shops really don't have their veterinary access, diagnosis or medication down pat, because in order to run a facility like this, you really need to have access to veterinary diagnosis and veterinary medications. You can't just use off-the-shelf medications and expect to have fish of this sort of caliber. So a lot of this also comes down to staff retention. So often you walk into an aquarium shop and the staff really don't know enough about the animals they're selling, and this is a major problem, because it really is aquarium shops that start people in the hobby, and it really is aquarium shops that keep people in the hobby. So it's really important, if a customer has an issue, they've got to be able to come down to the shop and get real advice from someone that knows and someone that cares. So a lot of this also comes down to the aquarium industry typically not paying well enough. So if you want really good staff that are going to give the customers really good service, then you do need to be prepared to pay them properly, making sure that there's adequate incentives, because at the end of the day, people might love working in the industry, but cost of living these days is absolutely ridiculous, and we do need to be conscious that the people that work in the industry do need to have a certain level of life, otherwise they're going to move on. And that's so often what happens, because they work in an aquarium shop, they end up getting some skills, they don't see any way forward for their career, and then they leave. So the aquarium industry has gone through some really wonderful, well-educated, passionate staff, but often the aquarium industry is not able to retain these people because they are literally needing to move on to actually further their life and their development. Also, a lot of shops are underfunded, so they will not set up adequate filtration, and they'll do things on a budget. Now, if you're trying to do a commercially viable business, you really need to set everything up in the first place. And I think it's absolutely crazy how many people go from being a hobbyist to straight away getting themselves an aquarium shop. If I was you, I would never think about owning an aquarium shop until I'd worked in an aquarium shop for at least 5 years. You really need to understand what you're doing before you go thinking that you can design a system, because a commercial application, it really is different to just having a few fish tanks at home in your garage or whatever. So I guess what I am really suggesting is that the industry stick together. The industry help to educate each other, and especially joining associations like the PIAA. So the Pet Industry Association of Australia offers a lot of training. If you go onto the Pet Industry Association or the PIAA Aquatics YouTube channel. There's lots of absolutely valuable information for opening and running an aquarium shop, and also making sure that that the industry is supporting each other. Trying to make sure that shops are interesting, they've got new and different things for people to see, and sharing what's working in your shop will really help the industry, because ultimately every time that we lose a customer, then the industry shrinks. So what we need is for the industry to help the industry grow. And the way that we're going to do that is by making sure that the customers are buying animals that are right for their aquariums, and or getting aquariums that are right for the animals that they actually want to keep. We must be placing a very big emphasis now on husbandry, making sure that we're doing everything we can to make sure the animals are in the best condition and position possible. And as far as shops are concerned, getting a good network of advisors is really, really important. So if you are thinking of opening an aquarium shop, first thing I'd do is go and work in a shop for a while before you think about doing it. I think it's crazy to just go and open one without at least having experience in the industry from a commercial sense. And then joining any relevant associations such as the PIAA, and then creating great relationships with other businesses. Now, they don't have to be around the corner. They could be on the other side of the city or wherever, but creating a good relationship with your competitors is actually in everyone's interest, because ultimately, if we can do everything we can to help train the staff and to make sure that people are getting the right information, people are buying the right animals for the right tanks, and they're getting the right support, that's how we grow this hobby. But shops that don't have good display tanks are not doing the industry a service, because aquariums that people can imagine in their home is the key. Having a display tank within a system or whatever is really not something that someone can imagine in their home, so therefore is not of the sort of value that get people started. So having really good display tanks that inspire people to get a tank are really important. And then offering a service where customers are encouraged to bring a sample of water and a video of their tank running on a regular basis, definitely any time that they're going to add new fish, so they can get regular advice to make sure that they're taking the right fish home to the right environment. And every time that a shop doesn't offer that sort of service, then they are doing a disservice to the actual industry. So in general, I believe the industry is the industry's worst enemy. The other thing is that public perception is a big problem in this industry, because there is a public perception that aquariums are very hard to look after, they take up a lot of space, and they're very expensive. Now, if you're going to go for a full reef aquarium, then that very well can be true. But on the other hand, setting up a very basic aquarium with some beautiful little mountain clouds or some zebra-danios or sucking catfish or whatever you want to keep can actually be very cheap. So for the sake of a few $100s, you can easily set up a beautiful basic tropical aquarium with easy to keep fish, including catfish and that'll actually keep your tank clean. Or there's lots of little temperate water fish like rosy barbs that are very beautiful and very easy to keep. So therefore, making sure that people know the whole range. Cichlids, super easy to keep. So allowing people to understand that some fish are very challenging and some fish are very, very easy. But making sure that the right customers get the right fish is really important. And some fish can be viewed as basically a piece of furniture, whereas other fish are much more like an involved hobby. Anyway, there is definitely progress in the aquarium industry as far as new technology, new information and so forth, but I think we still have a very long way to go. So put a little comment on the bottom of this video and tell us what you see going on with the aquarium industry, and what do you see improving, what do you see potentially getting worse, and any comments, points, or advice that you might have for someone thinking about running or that is running a aquatic business. So I think that according to the surveys and so forth that I've had access to, I think that aquarium keeping, the hobby itself, should at least be double what it is now. At the moment, I think we're sitting at about 13% in Australia. So about 13% of Australians keep fish, whereas if you actually look at the statistics, it's more like 30% that actually would like to. And the main reason why these people are not keeping the fish is because they think it's harder than it is. They think it's more expensive than it has to be. And they think it takes up more room than it has to. So busting these public perceptions is a really important point to helping our hobby grow. But basically, I believe with the right support, that we could double this hobby. But the only way we're going to do that is by doubling it together. We need to work together. The days when people write off each other's shops and stuff is really over. We need to be in our relevant associations. We need to cooperate. We need to get along. So here in Sydney, we're in a really good position because a lot of us store owners in Sydney, we're all actually very good friends. We party together, we go out together, we do things together, and it really does make life a lot more interesting and rewarding. But we've got a long way to go in this hobby, and I think that our potential as an industry is like no other. I believe there's no other industry that you could literally double by getting things right. And as a hobby, it's time that we get it right. It's time that we don't allow dead fish in our tanks. We don't allow algae in our tanks. It has to look good. It has to look clean. It has to look well presented. And I think that that we can do a lot together. Anyway, let us know what you think.